started out right when we got back. I ended up pulling the axles out of the car completely, stripped them down, found some issues, addressed any issues that were with the axles. I just wanted to get that knocked off the list first. The car went down to complete chassis, got rolled outside, completely cleaned, inspected, for more cracks and any kind of fatiguing on the chassis, any kind of bolt holes that were any messed up or anything like that. We just stuff you want to know that's right before you start a season of racing. We started going back together with it. We had some motor issues.
Sent your lab out?
Yeah, we sent the oil out for lab testing and it came back not so pretty. So we ended up sending the motor out to Grom Racing. He got us taken care of on that side of it. Other than that, a couple upgrades as far as strength of the car. Just some things I thought might be an issue in the future. It all went back together pretty smooth considering all that we did to the car. Anything?
No. What an adventure to get out to Hammers.
Yeah. Yeah, so before we even left for Hammers, so right when we got the car, back together, I had built new headers for the car because the other ones just weren't quite cutting it. Pretty restrictive on the motor. So when we had the motor sent to Grom, they ported the heads and I built the new headers. So before we made the big trek to Hammers, I wanted to get the car retuned. So I drove down to Louisiana to D-Bomb Tuning. He just touched the car up and everything was good to go. Just make sure everything was nice and safe before we took it out there, loaded up, and I believe at that point it was just loading tools and shop stuff, and we hit the road on the way to Hammers.
Yep.
Initially got to Hammers, we were there pretty early, before most people. So we just kind of took the car, it was a new motor, so we went out there and we just put some real easy miles on it. Just cruising around, making sure everything's good. I touched a lot of stuff on the car, so I just want to make sure there's no leaks or power steering issues because I just rebuilt the whole entire power steering system. We were pretty easy on it for the first couple days, yeah. And we started gradually being a little more aggressive on the car, just to ensure that everything we did was correct. And it kind of went too smooth the whole time. Typically like you get to Hammers and there's a bunch of issues, so I was almost a little more paranoid than I should have been.
But we were doing good. Every time we got done with our pre-running, the car would do a nut and bolt check. We'd pull all the panels off of it.
Yeah, just inspection after inspection after inspection on the car. Yeah. Everything went fantastic, really.
Yeah. Then a couple days, then we got into pre-running, and we got to start pre-running with Aaron Smith and Kevin Jones. Kevin Jones knows that area pretty well, and so we decided to just kind of divide and conquer there. Let's say day one of our pre-running. Yeah. We decided to knock out the lap 2, which would be pretty much all the rocks and a little bit of the desert.
And that's when we found our first issue.
Yeah.
And we were all the way almost to the very end of lap 2 rock trails, and we're on Sunbonnet, and Aaron was in front of us, so I was kind of following his line. The car just didn't like the same line Aaron's car did, so I backed up and I tried a different line, and as soon as I went to hit it, the axle shaft blew up. It was a brand new, kind of one of those freak accident deals that just doesn't happen, and it happened, of course. So that ended our lap 2 pre-running. We got it back to camp.
Talked to several people.
Talked to so many people. Casey Gilbert and Eric Miller actually ended up having the parts, and then Brannick had the rest of the parts to complete the package that we needed to get the car back running and in good shape. So we spent that night tearing the car apart, fixing that axle, and inspecting for any more damages that it had done. And then after that, I think we went and beat on it in some more rocks, just to gain confidence back, because that was a real confidence killer right there. 0 issues all the way to a part that typically should not ever fail, to failing in day 1. So we got our confidence back in the rocks. We were monitoring those shafts like crazy, and then after that we're pretty good to go, and we started our desert testing. Shock tuning went really well. Johnny and I's mission was to get the car ready the night before, because we already had to wake up, super early to get over there in time for what we were doing. You're spending time over there, so we want to start bright and early. So we got over there. Wayne started messing with the car. We went out. We made a few changes. That was a little better, but I was still. The best way to describe it is just out of control. Like I could not. Like I knew what the car felt like to be at a competitive pace with other people, and I was pushing the car to that limit, but it was not sustainable for the whole entire race. It was a constant car crash of keeping the car straight, and I wasn't satisfied with that. So we started talking to people. Dave mentioned tow, and Paul Wolf. We talked to both of those guys. They said that it's a big factor in the car, and Wayne at Alltech, he said the same thing, which was one of those things where I was wanting to get testing done before we went to Hammers, but stuff just doesn't line up for the perfect world. So we ended up messing with that there. We made the change that was suggested to us, and we picked up 15 or 20 mile an hour, and the car felt comfortable.
Yeah.
I was no longer, driving a car accident anymore.
Along for the rodeo.
Yeah, the car felt smoother. It was way more controllable. And honestly, the biggest thing I got out of shock tuning was my toe.
Yeah. It's crazy that such a little change made such a big difference.
Yeah. So after shock tuning, we spent some more time, dialing the car. We had a few little, nothing was leaking, but you could tell stuff, just going around tightening the car, tightening fittings up, checking all our paint marks and stuff like that. Since it was a brand new motor, I wanted to, just ensure that everything was looking healthy inside there.
Adjusted the toe again.
Yeah, we adjusted the toe again because we weren't happy with it. We went ahead and did an oil change on the motor, just to make sure everything was nice and happy inside there. Cut the filter open. We had Samir at Grom Racing check the tune to make sure he was satisfied with the way it was, running and how we were treating it. And after that, it was just a whole bunch of overthinking until we got to the qualifying starting line.
The old jump.
Yeah, the jump. I was a little worried. I've never done anything like that in my life before. And watching the previous people have some issues on it, I was a little nervous. And I went over to Paul Wolf's camp and I talked to him, and he was like, "Are we here to race or not?" Basically just called me out on my crap, which that gave me the confidence, that I could do it, because in my mind it wasn't worth ruining my race if I wasn't confident, in the car. So I told Johnny, I was like, by the time we hit that cutoff to make the bypass, if I'm not at a certain mile an hour, and I want you to call off those mile an hours, every single time that number changes on the GPS, I want you to call it out so I'm confident in what I'm doing. And he did exactly that. And by the time we hit it, I was, obviously it went good.
Set for sail.
Yeah, we ended up qualifying top 20, which I was pretty happy about, because there was a lot of guys I was watching out there that were being extremely violent to try and get that pole qualifying position, and I felt we were very easy on the car. There was no super hard hits. We were just out for a fast-paced cruise. Yeah, everything went smooth. There was no real nothing I thought after that we should have to inspect or anything like that, which we did anyway, but.
Prepare mentally and physically for the race. Do what we could. Scott came up with a long list of to-dos.
Yep.
And in those 2 days, we took our time in getting those knocked out, but the mental thing, we knew that we were here to race, we wanted to put out with this one. And so slowly got our punch list knocked out and prepared for the race.
And we went through everything. every wheel and tire came off the car. We inspected the brakes. We inspected every hydraulic line, transmission line, oil line. Checked everything. Every torque mark on the car is noted, and we checked all of those. Inspected the differentials, transmission fluid, motor oil.
Greasy joints.
We greased. We greased. Everything you can grease on the car.
Which actually helped because we actually ended up finding a loose yoke nut out of
Yes.
pure randomness.
We
spline movement, and we just happened to just check the rear because we thought we were hearing something, and Scott said he didn't.
I had been feeling something for about 2 days that I couldn't find, and it was progressively getting worse. I had torn the full interior out of the car, checking carrier bearings, checking everything in the car I can think of. Differentials were getting checked, unit bearings, brakes, the whole nine. I could never find anything. And then we were just going through that checklist of checking drive shafts and splines and making sure everything looks healthy. And Johnny got into the car and he went to wiggle the drive shaft, to check everything. And the back of the Atlas was loose. So we went in there. We called over Advanced Adapters. They had a booth at Hammers this year. We checked over the procedure we did to put it back together and made sure there was all good to go. And they checked us off. And that was basically the end of our prep for the race.
Yep. Knowing that we had a good qualifying helped us out with helping us not have to pass so many people in a way, just because of dust is just a huge factor of where you want to open it up in the desert and you can't because you can't see. Yeah. And so
I think one of the biggest things going through my head on race day was the jump again, because you're no longer hitting it by yourself, you're hitting it next to someone. And I was really scared that if you touch tires with someone and have a big wreck right there, it wasn't worth ending my race. So we took off from the line as hard as we could, and we're watching the guy next to us, and he decided to take the cutoff. So that we were confident after that point that we were clear to hit the jump safely. But basically for the rest of the day, I just wanted to, I didn't want to hurt the car. I wanted to drive at as fast as I could drive on the wheels. There was a few times where it got a little sketchy, but everything worked out. The desert lap was super fast.
I think we only physically only had to get out of the car to quote pull one time for winch.
Yep, in the rocks.
So,
Yep, but lap one was it was good. We took fuel, did it all again, and the rocks were going flawlessly all day.
Almost too good to be true.
Yeah, too good to be true. We were at Sunbonnet again. Same exact spot I broke my axle shaft 5 feet earlier, and the car just decided to die. It wasn't physically possible in my mind that we were out of gas, because we were getting mileage calculated at pits, and they were radioing us what our mileage was. We weren't far enough, even close to far enough yet, to run out of gas. But I think the pumps were just getting a little overheated from running all day. I have a spare fuel filter on the car, so we ended up swapping that just to kind of knock something off the list of something it could be. That didn't fix it. And kind of a last-ditch effort, I had Johnny yank the hood off, and we just cranked down the fuel regulator. I was watching the dash, and as he's turning it, the fuel pressure just started climbing, which, we were like, this might work or it might not. So, Johnny held the hood, and we took off.
I just know to follow the little lines, but it was a bottleneck. There was 3 or 4 cars. There was a car on its side, and I'm like, well, I do no good just sitting here. So got out of the car, and we just started helping winching people up. Scott kind of just kept pushing the car forward as we were pushing the cars out. And I think one guy flipped over.
Yeah, right in front of us.
Yeah,
I think it was Sledge.
Yeah, Sledge.
I don't know. It was one of those rock trails. Yeah. And we ended up taking the right line, which was the harder line, and we ended up just winching over all the rocks and trying to bypass the bottleneck through the harder section, which ended up kind of working out.
Yeah. It took a little more time, but it was rewarding just because it left a few people still stuck in that area, and so, like I said, it started picking them out slowly. So that definitely helped.
Yeah, for sure. I think the only other time
when you got diffed up, but
I got
Bailey Cole came in clutch.
Yeah, Bailey Cole came in. We were we couldn't pull forward, we couldn't pull backwards, we couldn't go left, we couldn't go right. Bailey Cole backed up behind us, and I guess him and Johnny worked it out. He ended up pulling us backwards out of the way, and we gave him our spot down the trail for him helping us out.
Thanks, Bailey.
Yeah, which was super handy of him to do that, because there was no other line there to go.
Yeah.
And no one wants to be that guy that's just blocking the trail off.
Yeah.
Off. We stopped in pits to top the tank off to make sure, if the pumps are overheating, kind of cool them off if they need to be.
Yep.
And then it was the first time I've ever we dropped back door, come over the hill, it's in the daylight, and you're like, something crazy has to happen for us not to finish right now, but you don't want to say it out loud because you don't want to jinx yourself.
It's just like that last home stretch.
Yeah, you're going around that last turn, and you're like, yo, don't mess up now.
And it's during the daylight, and you're just like, this is.
Yeah, I was just so stoked, to cross that finish line in the daytime, or finish at all at least, and then to end up being top 10 with our, sitting there for 45 minutes I was very impressed in the car, what we were able to do out there. So excited to be finishing, but at the same time, I'm so mad at myself that the car had an issue. I felt like I threw it away by having that failure, and it really got to me. With how long we sat in the bottom of it, I know it, it don't matter now, but with how long we sat there fixing the car and how good we did, it really upsets me that I let that slip past my fingers while prepping the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great feeling to go across the finish line. I'm still stoked for a top 10 finish.
Finished during the daylight.
And the whole time we were racing, I felt like we were being pretty nice to the car too. I wasn't just being super violent and beating on it. And
only violent to his co-driver.
Only the verbal abuse.
Physical abuse.
But there was stuff we hit during the day.
Yeah.
There was a few things that were like, oh gosh, we thought we had an issue. We had 0 flats all day, 0 bent wheels. Luckily, we never needed to use the Baja Designs lights that we had just put on, which was a good thing.
Right before Hammers, we got in contact with Meridyne fans. We met them at the PRI show, did some talking with them. We wanted a fan that was higher CFM than what we're currently using now, and of lower voltage, or even something that a progressive voltage would gain on our alternator, just to keep from stressing our alternator, because there's a lot of things going on in being used with electronics. Trying to do everything we could to keep that pretty much regulated. And you can tell that it definitely was a higher CFM fan because the coolers were turned on and off a lot quicker.
Yeah, our engine temps were running 175, 180 all day. Trans was running too cold.
Yeah, we had to turn the trans fans off at times because it was too cool. But yeah, strong, awesome fan. Definitely reliable.
Super cool. I would say before we got on the stage, before we talked to Pam, I was just done. Like, my brain was fried, my body hurt. That last 20 miles was just so brutal. The shocks are faded. We were just doing everything we could to, the car was fine, but our bodies were not fine. But once we crossed that stage, got moving around a little bit, I was just very thankful for all the people that we had at the finish line waiting for us, all the people that helped us out in pits, everyone that supports us and helps us keep doing what we want to do. Yeah, so I want to thank Ange. She supports me in ways that, that I never thought were possible, really.
Couldn't do without her.
No way. My dad, he helped so many, every day I was out here working on this car, he was out here working on this car. No way it could have been in the shape or the condition that it was in without him helping. Johnny, he put hours into that, There's a lot of stuff. There's just a lot of stuff that you can't do with just one person. When everyone has their little jobs, it makes it a lot better. I think Max's tires, we had 0 flats all day long, and we were definitely not easy on them.
Yeah, and helping us out with mounting and unmounting the tires and hammers. That's a big one for us.
Yep, Shaw in the pits was definitely a game changer. Vision wheels. We started off with a brand new set of bead locks for this race, and they held up to some stuff that a lot of stuff would not hold up to. Worn winches. When we had to use it, it was there.
Meridyne.
Yep.
And it was awesome to see one of our sponsors actually come out and greet us and get to talk to us about their product and watch the race and see what it's all about and why we want to run the product and what it takes to make a team and run that product out there. Not just bolting it on, but going through and telling them how dusty it gets, water involved. I mean, it snowed for the first time at Hammers. So that was awesome.
Yep. I think the Baja Designs, the whole car got outfitted before Hammers with their products. Luckily, we didn't need to use them, but they're definitely awesome. AA Muffler and Brake, he helps me personally to get to the races, and just stuff with the car that no one else, that you don't really think about needing. Yeah, this is the first Hammers. I went into it with a completely different mindset. We're there to have fun and we're there to race, but this year, my mind, it wouldn't let me think in any other way than, we're coming out here to do this and we're going to do it wholeheartedly.
We wanted a good outcome.
Yep. So we were, I don't know, we were just working every single day.
We wanted to make sure the car was squared away and anything we needed to do was possibly done. That way it gave us a higher out chance of finishing the race. Left nothing on the table this time.
Yeah, we gave it all. Every morning we're up, we're working on the car. Every night we're working on the car. We're constantly asking people for advice and figuring things out, trying to make the car better. And I think that's what it takes to be competitive and, to turn this into something.
I think the nights we were not working on the cars, I think we were in bed by like 9:30.
Yeah, I don't think I stayed up one night at Hammers past 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that's a never.
Which that has never happened before.
But hey, we were up at 6:37 every morning.
Yeah, cool. Definitely a different perspective on Hammers.
Grandpa status.
If I had to describe KOH 25 in one word, I would just say brutal. My same answer from the podium, and I'm still feeling it.
My King of the Hammers for 2025 experience was mentally and physically exhausting, but more mentally, if anything.
That was not one word.
It's close enough.
Well, it was close enough. Didn't say I passed it.
Okay.